In the late 80s to the mid-90s, arcades were the place to be. Meeting with friends, having a good time, and playing cool video games. What more could you ask for? In the 80s, you had Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Q*bert, but in the 90s, you get stuff like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, X-Men the arcade game, and more. One of my favorite arcade games was always TMNT 4, Turtles in Time. However, TMNT 4 wasn't where the Turtles made their first big leap into the arcade scene. The game that did that was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. This game was released in 1989 when the turtle craze was really going on and it was a big deal. The Heroes in a Half Shell were mega popular, whether it be cartoons, movies, shirts, party decorations, or more, the Turtles were a massive success. Thus, they had to jump into the world of video games. The big hit system at the time was the NES, and you're likely asking, Lance, why aren't you talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES before its technical sequel? My response?
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
TMNT the arcade game released and was mega popular. I do remember playing this game at a local Pizza Hut, but it was randomly swapped out with TMNT 4, which is also how I got into that game. Funny enough that Pizza Hut was how I learned about stuff like Street Fighter 2, Galaga, and more, but that's a story for another day. I could never beat TMNT the arcade game because it was so hard to play by myself. I may have gotten to the second level and I just kept dying. Players back in the day would likely play this game via the NES version, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, a decent port of the game which was a huge leap in quality versus the original NES game, but I personally prefer the arcade version. I would eventually play it again via the re-release on the Xbox 360 as I got older, but when it came to TMNT beat-em-ups, I would just stick with Turtles in Time and the 2003 game. I recently got the Cowabunga collection, which this game is on, so today I wanted to finally sit down and write this game off my bucket list. So today, let's remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power.
So the plot to this game is super simple since it is an arcade game. Shredder and his gang, the Foot Soldiers, are up to no good once again. April's apartment is on fire, and it's up to the Turtles to save her. You go through levels and beat up enemies. That's the whole plot. There's not a lot to really explain. Mostly because this is an arcade game and it's a beat-em-up. And for those who haven't seen my Shredder's Revenge review, you're basically going across the levels, beating up enemies, doing special attacks, and more. Once you reach the end of the level, you encounter a boss fight. Now, I love the first level of this game a lot. You're running through a burning building fighting the Foot Clan in order to save April, and I became a big fan of the Turtles thanks to the '03 show, but mainly the original live-action movie, and one of my favorite moments from the movie is when the Turtles fight the Foot Clan in April's home while it's on fire. It was always just a really exciting moment of the film, and I remember when I got to play this game, I was like, that's just like the movie, and I thought it was so cool to, experience that, especially in game form. So on this journey, I'm going to be playing as Donatello. He's a big bow staff that allows for longer attacks, and he does machines. The Turtles do play differently in this game. Raph hits the hardest, Leonardo is the all-around character, Mikey is the fastest, and Donatello has the most range. For beat-em-up's sake, I appreciate the range, and it's what I try to use the most. And it helps though because this game is not easy to play by yourself. Due to this being an arcade game, the whole purpose of, of the arcades back in the day is to suck up quarters. So enemies hit really hard, and there's a lot of obstacles in your way that will zap your health along the way. Bosses in particular can be kind of nasty about this. Granitor is a boss near the end of the game, and this dude hits like a truck. He has a gun that shoots fire at you and repeatedly hit you, and you'll get stuck in a stun animation when you get hit, and then he'll just immediately keep hitting you again, and this sucks up a lot of your health. He's much easier with another person playing with you, but man, on one player, this guy's a tough cookie. And that's not to say that the bosses aren't fun. They're loads of fun. I really like the Bebop and Rocksteady fights, especially when you fight both of them at the same time. They have a cool little moment where they run into each other, where you can kind of run up and wail them a bit. It's really fun. Something that immediately caught me off guard about this game is the lack of health items you get. See, throughout the levels you can find a box of pizza, and by eating it you'll get your health back, and you can keep fighting. I think I've only encountered like 3 pizza boxes throughout my entire playthrough, and if you're playing the arcade games as a kid, you're gonna be poor when it comes to quarters because the enemies do so much damage here, and there's not a lot of health you're gonna get. And it's mainly because this game is meant to be played with friends, and with friends it is much easier due to the extra help. But alone, yeah, be prepared to die a fair bit. It's a fun challenge, though, and thanks to the new release, you can just hit the start button in the case of the Cowabunga Collection to gain extra lives. Does it make the game easier? Yeah, but it's still a lot of fun to play. The difficulty isn't really an issue, and I'm hoping it's not coming off like I'm ragging on the game. I'm not. It's just that it's so weird going back to this after playing stuff like Shredder's Revenge and Street Rage 4, and it's kind of interesting just going back and seeing how gaming has changed so much since the days of the arcade versus now. And it's cool, but it's so fun to go back to and just see that. The levels are quite fun to play as well, though. You can fight your way through a burning building, like I mentioned before, fight mousers in the sewers, take on Krang and his guns in the Technodrome, and more. This game isn't long, it can be beaten quite quickly. My playthrough was only maybe about 30 minutes, and likely would have been much faster if I was playing with people. I know I keep bringing that up, but this is a game that's meant to be played with friends, and you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of it that way. It's kind of a whole beat-em-up shtick, fun to play alone, but much more fun with friends. The moral of the video here is to find friends who like beat-em-ups and Ninja Turtles. And I haven't even brought up the music yet, and while this game doesn't really compare to like Turtles in Time or even Shredder's Revenge, it still has some really great music. I wanted to bring up something really cool I learned about him on this playthrough that I never really knew. So in the Technodrome, you'll face off with Krang, and he's a bit of an annoying fight, but he's not impossible to beat. Once you defeat Krang, though, Shredder then runs out, and Shredder has a clone that you also have to fight. And interesting thing about this fight is Shredder will always make enough clones to have one more clone compared to how many players there are. So in this instance, it's just me playing alone, so you'll fight 2 Shredders. If you have all 4 turtles on screen, you'll fight 5 Shredders. I really think that's cool, and it makes the fight a bit more tense. You do have to defeat the clone Shredder first in order to win. The way to really tell them apart is that the original Shredder will always stay behind the clone Shredder, and he shoots this like weird laser attack that instantly kills you and turns you into a baby Ninja Turtle. Really kind of neat touch. He's a pretty fun fight though, and he's my favorite boss in the game. With Shredder defeated though, the Technodrome is destroyed, for now, and the villains run off. They will return another day, but that's a story for another time. A turtle in time, even. I know this video is kind of something different for me. I don't normally talk about arcade games, and I honestly kind of struggle on how exactly how to talk about this game. I love the Ninja Turtles, though. It's a big part of my childhood, and finally going back to a game that I never had the chance to beat from my childhood is lots of fun. This game still holds up super well. For a 1989 game, it holds up really well graphically. It has issues, and it would be topped in every single way by the next arcade entry, but man, this game hits all of the right spots. It's loads of fun smashing up foot soldiers, having fun boss fights, and tons of fun levels. The music is pretty good, and it's just a 30 to 40 minute adventure. It makes me wish even more that we still had access to stuff like X-Men the arcade game, The Simpsons arcade game, and more. I love beat 'em ups, especially ones in the Ninja Turtle variety, and this game is still one that I highly recommend to those not just looking for a Ninja Turtle game, but also a fun beat 'em up as well. There are quite a few ways to play this game now, though. You obviously have the NES version, which graphically looks worse, but you do have more levels in that version, and the difficulty isn't as hard because you don't take as many hits, which is kind of nice. You can only play with 2 players, though, on that version. On the arcade version, you can play with 4 people. The rarest version of this game, though, nowadays is probably TMNT 2 Battle of the Nexus for the PS2, GameCube, and the OG Xbox, where it was kind of a bonus game. I don't really recommend that one as much as it has a different soundtrack and it's not as good. Another way to play it is the arcade 1-up version that you can get with both the TMNT arcade game and Turtles in Time. It's expensive, but not gonna lie, I've always wanted an arcade machine in my house, so it's not a bad idea to really pick this up if you're interested. And finally, you have the new Cowabunga collection. It has tons of cool new things in this collection with art, a digital manual, and it's honestly the cheapest option right now, and, you know, it's available on modern consoles, and obviously, if you want to be that guy, you can always pirate it. Don't really have anything against that. It's an arcade game. You do you. I don't judge. If you're interested, though, I highly recommend picking up the Cowabunga collection and giving this old gem a try. You won't regret it. It's loads of fun, but if you do, I highly recommend playing it with friends, because that's the appeal. You know, playing games with friends is always loads of fun. And with the Cowabunga collection, you can play online with friends. It's really fun. So again, if you're interested in TMNT, or just beat 'em ups in general, or you just want a game to play with your friends, you cannot go wrong with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. However, that's really all from me today. I hope you all have enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Again, it is always appreciated. And the next time we meet up with the Ninja Turtles, we'll be talking about one of my favorite beat 'em ups of all time. We'll be remembering Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.